Hey listeners, this is Alyse. Welcome back to Dreadful Dialogue. And this week I have with me a brand new guest. His name is Billy, and we're dear old friends. We've known each other from our time when we were serving in the military, and he's done a bit of acting himself, and he has some other projects and things that he's done that he'll make sure to share with us at the end. But I want to welcome you to the podcast. Billy, how you doing?
Thanks. I appreciate it. I'm so excited. Been waiting for this for a while. And I really hope this podcast takes off. It's a great show, great themes. Peace.
Awesome. Yeah, so we're going to be chatting today about something different. Usually we do deep dives on movies or a book or something, but what me and Billy did was we kind of put together a list of different types of movies that, overall they're supernatural. Some of them have more of a gothic feel, folk horror, or just something of the unknown. And they don't necessarily all piece together perfectly, but these are all some good movies that we thought would be really cool for us to just chat about and expose people to. And some of them I've seen, some of them he's only seen, some of us we've both seen. So that's what we're going to do. We got a list about almost 20 movies that we're just going to chat about.
Great idea. I mean, it's, there's so many gems out there that people haven't seen. And with the internet, and with social media like this, there's so many opportunities for people to get to see great movies and people that they know and trust.
Yeah. So the first movie we're going to chat about today is The Asphyx. That's one that you suggested from 1972.
The Asphyx, yeah. The reason why I like this is because the setting. It's set in the Victorian era in London, and it has the element of the unknown, the supernatural. What it is that in late Victorian era, a doctor becomes involved in researching paranormal. And he discovers that when a human was about to die, a spirit called the Asphyx appears close to the person. And he found a way to actually capture it using a light, using phosphorus gas, And he did that, first of all, during an execution of a person and by hanging it. And they turn on the light right before the man's hand, and the Asphyx appears beside the person. And so he figured that if he could capture the Asphyx before the person dies, maybe the person would have immortality. So what he's trying to do is he's trying to get immortality for himself. So that's the basic premise of the show. And it goes on then with personal dilemmas, personal dramas with what the people he loves. And eventually he tries it on himself.
Uh-oh.
And yeah, it's just, I don't want to give too much of the plot away, but
yeah, we just want to give enough to give people a little taste or a little synopsis. We don't want to completely spoil it, but it's hard to not spoil them in some sense, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, he designs basically with an assistant of his, sort of a camera, a light that sends out light from phosphorus, which captures the Asphyx. So he tries to trick the Asphyx to appearing.
Mm-hmm.
So he tries to put someone into a situation where they're imminently about to die. And in the instance, it's a female assistant who's engaged to his trainee. And what it is basically they try and trick the Asphyx into appearing when her head is in a guillotine. And so the Asphyx appears, but a little animal inside the laboratory chews through a wire, and the guillotine, it actually does what it's supposed to do. And so, but the Asphyx is trapped by the light, but the person's there went out ahead. So basically they had to make decisions to turn off the light, let the Asphyx take her away. It's that kind of thing, It's that immortality, reaching for immortality.
And that's a human theme that you see throughout literature and movies that there's
that's why back in college,
yeah, that people are trying to achieve. Okay, so the Asphyx. So I haven't seen that one. That's from 1972.
Yeah, it's like a horror type of thing. That gothic old London, pea super fog type of story.
Gotcha. All right. Well, one of the movies that I picked out was The Oddity from 2024. Did you end up watching that one? I wasn't sure.
That was made in Ireland, wasn't it?
Yeah, Ireland.
Yeah, it's about twins. Okay, so fill me in on that.
Yeah, so it's about some twins, and one of them is blind and one of them gets killed. And I won't talk about how she got killed, but the other sister comes to town and she's trying to figure out, hey, how did my sister get killed? And she has all these objects, like her family, they own a shop with all these, oddities, these odd objects. And she's using these things to kind of help her figure out like how her sister died. And she's using them as like these tools for revenge. And it's got some definitely like creepy factors. It's kind of a slow burn for sure. I mean, a lot of these on this list that we have, I think, are slow burns, and it's got some, a couple unsettling moments in it, and it's a newer one. So I think it's on Shutter right now if people pay for that service. But yeah, I thought it was a really good one for people to check out.
What's next on the agenda?
The Exorcist, and that's one that you brought up, but I've definitely seen that one.
Oh, yeah. Well, The Exorcist is really well known. I mean, it's a classic. It's not what we think about it. It's what we're trying to do in this podcast is bring up the hidden gems that people know and kind of resurrect, give a second chance to great movies. But The Exorcist, it kind of sets the scene of what I like. It's the unknown spirit, a demon coming from the other side. And what really attracts me about this type of horror, it's that it comes from the unknown, the other side. It brings in something ancient. I'm also attracted to ancient things. And what was there at the time, when I go back to Ireland, I go to castles, monasteries, these things. I think of who was in this room 500 years ago. And when it comes to The Exorcist, what is it that possesses this girl? It goes through, the Ouija board thing. It starts off in Iraq when they disturb a tomb.
Mm-hmm.
And they find Pazuzu, an ancient demon from Nineveh in Iraq, which is like several thousand years ago. And, by means of a Ouija board, the girl Reagan becomes possessed. And it goes from there, the girl becomes, the spirit enters her, and it tries to attract an exorcist, Father Merrin, who had previously dealt with the demon. The setting, I mean, that scene where, from the poster, where Father Merrin arrives in the taxi, and he looks at the window, and there's a light shining from the window, and you see the demon, see Reagan McNeil's face, silhouette, transparent, looking over the entire thing, that eerie horror thing, the eerie feeling,
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of eeriness to it, and it brings in, history, like you said, but it also brings in a lot of, religion. And I have different people that I've talked to, some that are like very devout religious, some that are not as religious, and they all have something to say about it, regardless, that even if you're not a religious person, it'll definitely stir you up a little, I think.
Yeah, and the unknowns. I think what's great about horror, I mean, is the unknown. I mean, religion has a lot of unknowns to it. It's faith. Faith is belief in what you haven't seen. And, he had the nightmare sequence where he sees his mother in a subway, and there's a brief flash of this really scary face, That's actually a person from a soap opera, by the way. But, yeah.
Really?
Oh, yeah. The hollowed eyes, the fangs, that like 2-second flash of a horrible demonic face. It's those things that bring in the scary. I think, as we worked in the movie business and away together, we worked in that kind of field. The most powerful tool a director has is the viewer's imagination.
That's absolutely true. I mean, I always say that about reading novels that are of the horror genre. Your mind can create much scarier images than any movie can create. And having these movies with the unknown, that's what starts to happen, is you start to create your own idea of like, what is it and what could it be? And it gives you this eerie feeling.
Well, that is fear. Fear is what we don't know. And it's brilliant the way that directors can manipulate that. And The Exorcist, when it uses all kinds of references, and the priest doing The Exorcist. And at the end, when Father Karras convinces the demon to take him, and he jumps out the window, killing himself and freeing the girl.
Yeah.
The police officer comes in, he sees this huge mess, 2 dead priests on the ground and the girl crying. He has no idea what happened, but you can't explain it to him. So the audience knows what the police officer doesn't.
Yeah.
Kind of lets you in on it, yeah?
Yeah, for sure. What about, have you seen Hereditary from 2018?
I loved it. It's exactly my kind of movie. It deals with a cult, a religious group, and it brings in the paranormal. It starts off with,
graphic scene.
At the start of it, I didn't know. I don't remember that. I just remember the eeriness of it. Of, oh, well, yeah, the girl,
Yeah,
like how she's killed.
yeah, I don't want to
Yeah.
go into too much detail and really spoil it. I mean, most people, even if you've not seen the movie, they've heard about that scene. But
Oh, yeah.
but
But
yeah, it's very eerie. Right from the get go, it's really eerie.
yeah, and you see, you're being laid up at the garden path some way, but you don't know what it is until you finally realize that the family are involved in something and they don't want to accept it. And as it goes along, you see that people are starting to accept the inevitable, but you also feel the presence of a demonic evil that's controlling this cult. And when you see things like people floating in the air without explanation and people disappearing out of nowhere, that kind of eeriness, to me, it's fantastic. It's that fear. One of the scenes towards the end where you see a person's body floating around. It's really well done. It gives it that effect. I mean, what did that? How can a person levitate, you know?
Yeah.
But there must be something that's doing that. The darkness in it, it attracts you. People are always want to be close enough, something that's scary and horrible, but they don't want to get closer where it can touch you. And that's where I'm at with that movie.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it with that one for sure. I like though that the movie they kind of throw you off a little too. Like maybe it's sort of red herrings where you're like, okay, maybe it's just they all have mental health issues, but it's you find out, yeah, there's much more to it, and the involvement of this cult is kind of what's driving everything.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Super. I thought I really loved that show.
yeah, it's a good one. What about The Fog from 1980?
Loved it. Again, fog itself, you know? What comes out of it? Fog has always had this mysterious attachment to people. I'm from Ireland, so, they get fog there all the time. I mean, I remember the start of it. I mean, the fog's well known, so we can't spoil it. But, you see the fog, it's pea soup for fog. A ship drifts into it, and they see this great big ship, an old schooner, an old pirate ship from ages ago coming in. And you see briefly the glimpses of the hook and the blades and, the person choking and screaming, That's great. And when you see the earrings, the threatening, the fog appearing, like the scenes where halfway through, when the kids are locked inside the house and Jamie Lee Curtis is trying to protect them, and the fog slowly comes down the street, and you kind of know what's in it. And then you reveal bit by bit in the show with Hal Holbrook's being told, telling the story that, that he's coming back as relatives of people who betrayed the pirates or whatever.
Yeah.
It's that link to a human element and the fear of what's in the fog. I thought it was a great idea.
Yeah, that's another classic one. This one's not on the list, but it kind of and they got similar vibes. Have you seen The Mist?
The Mist. Oh, yeah. That was, it's a Stephen King.
Not the same. It doesn't have the same reasoning. We don't really get the reasoning.
It's a
in The
mist.
Mist,
Well,
but
basically,
it is something where it's something coming. Like it's not a fog. It's a mist, and there's stuff in it. And
yeah, people are trapped
hurting
inside
people.
a hardware store.
Yeah,
And it's Marsha Gay Harden. And it's a Stephen King book.
yeah, and the book. And I don't want to spoil this in case people haven't. But if you read the book and you watch the movie, the endings are different. In the book, I mean, books are always better, right? But the ending in the movie, whoa, I'll just leave it at that. It takes a whole nother turn, and that one, I mean, I'm sure most people have seen it, but I don't want to spoil that one for the ending. But that's what came to mind when we were talking about the fog.
Yeah. I mean, the Mist. It's more to do with an alien presence than supernatural, but still.
Yeah, I mean, it's still an unknown. I mean, a couple of our movies on this list aren't 100% supernatural. I also wanted to add in, it's just like, what is going on here? Like, as a watcher, you're confused. There's a bit of misdirection in some of these movies.
Well, to see huge giant things moving around from a distance in the mist, if it turns, it might crush me. That's scary feeling. It's like a kid at night in a cabin at night during a huge thunderstorm. They have the candle. It's that thing. It's that the flash of light. What's out there? I mean, you see the lightning and you wait for that big huge thunderclaps. Oh, yeah. It brings you back to when you're a child again.
For sure. Yeah. When Evil Lurks, 2023. Did you get that one? Did you get a chance to check that one out?
Oh, I did not get up to that one. So tell us about it.
That one's from Argentina, and it is definitely a folk horror. I talked about it in one of our other episodes. We didn't go in depth on it, but it's basically like a small Argentinian village, and there's this person that's dying, and it's kind of like this unsaid, but everybody knows that there's some sort of like demon or entity that's in this person. and they're concerned with how do they trap that entity without it jumping into more bodies. And there's like certain rules they have to follow, and this is where like the folklore portion comes into it, because there's different things they have to do, otherwise it'll just keep jumping from person to person essentially. And it's really good. It's pretty graphic. It's got some really good imagery in it. But yeah, it's like this unknown of like, what are they going to do? And the things that this entity can do to others it's wild. It's scary. I love foreign movies. Everything that that director has done for When Evil Lurks is really good. I think he did something called what was that one? The Terrified, not Terrifier the Clown. I know that's a similar sounding title, but yeah, all of the stuff that this guy's done, you could tell. I mean, he knows his stuff. He's really done his research from what I've heard. And it's cool with somebody to get this culture of another country and their different folk stories. So yeah, check that. That's another good one.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
What's next on our list?
Lake Mungo. You brought this one up.
I saw that. Yeah.
I've seen it a long time ago, but yeah, 2008.
Yeah. Lake Mungo, I loved it. It was Australian. It's like, nearly 20 years ago. It's kind of like found footage, kind of like one of my favorites, the Blair Witch Project. When you bring young females into it, there's always that thing like associated with The Exorcist, or a real life story in England, the Epping poltergeist from London, like 50 years ago. For some reason, when young people are going through that fruition process, they bring out an extra energy and attracts the demons. Mm-hmm. And in Lake Mungo, that's there too. It's a very centralized kind of movie. When you find out bit by bit, after the girl dies, the family finds out through found footage that she was up to some no good. It's only towards the end that you see an apparition or that kind of thing. But the eeriness is what brings me to that. It's the mystery being unfolded bit by bit. It's kind of like, when you're a kid doing the whodunit horror in the old manor house, like the game Clue or whatever it is.
Yeah, I love that one.
Yeah. Who was it? It was the butler in the living room with the candlestick, Yeah. I mean, it is that, but not in a new way. A girl dies and under mysterious circumstances, and they find out she wasn't as innocent as she was.
Yeah, I mean, I think there was some people up to no good with her as well. I think there was definitely some influence on her.
She was getting involved with adults in a way.
Yeah, they were influencing her, unfortunately.
Yeah, and bit by bit, they find out there was a supernatural element to it. Yeah. They go to Lake Mungo, which is associated with where she died, and they find out that there's apparition involved. So that when you bring an apparition into it, that supernatural things moving by themselves, the appearance of a ghost, you bring back to the question as a child, what's out there? Mm-hmm. Where was she? Is she dead or isn't she dead?
Yeah,
I love that.
They kind of did it like like a faux documentary style, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
And there's still movies doing that. I mean, like there's the newer one, the Poughkeepsie tapes, which I wasn't a big fan of, but I think I don't know. I think that one was later than that, and it looked like it took kind of inspiration from that. But I know we mentioned the Blair Witch Project, and that was the next one on our list from 1999.
I loved it. I went to see it, yeah.
First found footage. I think probably the best first found. I mean, if not the first, it's one of the best. I mean, it kicked off a whole genre that is still going strong today with found footage.
I loved it. Of course, Ellie Kedward, the Blair Witch, she was Irish. Yeah.
Oh, we haven't mentioned it, folks. If you can't tell by his accent or mentioning it, yes, Billy is from Ireland.
Yeah, it's just had Paddy's Day, and actually I didn't drink.
I know. I thought about that after. I was like, man, we should have recorded on St. Patrick's Day. I was like, is that too stereotypical of me to be like, hey, buddy, listen?
Yeah.
I didn't offend you and ask you to cover the leprechaun or anything like that.
Yeah. People are saying, I had a great fun on Facebook telling people, oh, you're making racist jokes about the Irish now about alcohol. See, it's great. I can play ball now, so I can turn it back into nice.
Yeah, but you like a good bottle of Paddy's, though. I know, man. I remember.
Oh, well, we can't say that now. Well, I'm still in, so I might get in trouble over that,
No, that wasn't when we were in. That was on our off time.
Oh, yeah, I don't talk about it. Anyway, let's back to the movies. Blair Witch, I love this. Ellie Kedward, an Irish witch, is condemned and expelled from society in Maryland like about 250 years ago. And then, the story is that people around Blair keep seeing her and that she takes possession of, everyone knows the story. She allegedly took possession of a mentally challenged man in the woods called Dustin Parr. And he took children from the town back to his place. And under her spiritual guidance, he killed them. And so these college students in 1990 something go to Blair. Actually, went there myself when I was in the area just to look around.
Okay.
They go to the area. They do a little handheld dock out in the wood forest in Maryland to basically say, this is Blair Witch, and find where they were at. As it goes on, they become isolated, but they strangely go in circles. Even though they've crossed over a bridge, like a log bridge, they come back to where they were. We're not crossing back over the river. So it gives you all that. And it shows you supernatural events happening with the handheld thing. The voices in the woods, the people running around, all that, And then it never see anything. It's all done by suggestion.
Exactly, yeah.
That's the power of the Blair Witch Project. It's done by suggestion. That's amazing. Our suggestion is just, it's amazing. But the best way I could say it is when you see people when males are so attracted to women wearing like svelte or barely there clothing. But if you go to a beach in France or Spain, see all the girls topless, no one cares,
Yeah.
It's that, like, the imagination. It gives you very little, so your mind has to work it out.
Yeah.
And the sounds of children laughing in the woods at 3 a.m, they're getting lost, crossing a river, then coming back to the same place without crossing back over the river, and then they find the house. And what happens in there,
Mm-hmm.
The way the actors behave, it was good acting. It was good leader.
Yeah, and from what I understand with a lot of that acting, a lot of it was improv, that they didn't have like a fully fleshed out script because it was very low budget. So that was another thing that impressed me. And the way that they marketed it was genius. I believed it. I was already like super into scary movies in 1999, but like I literally was super scared of that because they marketed it so that you really thought like, oh, this is real. Like this really happened. And this was like pre-social media and all that. So it was really easy to kind of like hide the identities like of these actors and kind of keep it under wraps. And they even made a fake documentary to go with the movie, like that was supposed to be the real Blair Witch story. And
Dustin Parr,
yeah, I totally fell into it. Like I believed all of it, even though, like I said, I'd already watched a bunch of stuff. Like it's scary. It got me. Me and my cousin Casey watched it together at the movie theater. I think it's one of the ones we might have got kicked out of. We used to sneak in. We used to have to like sneak into movies. That was in the days when you could buy a movie ticket, right? And you could go for one movie, but you could go into another movie theater. Now that's a lot harder to do. I'd probably get in trouble. I shouldn't be admitting I did that, huh? Oh well, whatever. I don't think anybody's gonna get me for it. But
my
yeah,
headphones aren't working yet.
Yeah. So they, all the my thousands of listeners that I have, not really, but yeah, I think that's one where they're like, hey, you guys can't be in here. We're like, oh, well, whatever, because I wasn't old enough to buy a ticket, but I wanted to see it. But yeah,
that leads us into another movie, Paranormal Activity.
Yeah. See, I'm not a huge fan of those, but I'm all up for talking about it. Go for it.
It's the supernatural thing. I mean, you see the Ouija board moving by itself. You see things going on fire.
Mm-hmm.
The behavior of some of the characters, like, when she's standing at the bed for 3 hours just staring at him.
Mm-hmm.
And it has a tiny little bit of special effects. Her voice is changing. And then you see a human being flying through the air. It's the unknown. It's coming out of the dark. It's tiny suggestions. Because remember, the viewer only gets to see this little box.
Mm-hmm.
The director has only the ability to show them what's in this little box and give them sounds. And that's great power because you have to rely on the cues you're given. And the more attention you give to the screen, the more you pay attention to little cues. And these little cues, these are notes to get your mind going. I thought Paranormal Activity, the first one, was great.
Yeah, the first one was good. And then it kind of...
It gets silly then.
It fell into franchise hell where they just...
Yeah.
They kind of rehash. But, I mean, you definitely wouldn't have you wouldn't have Paranormal Activity if you didn't have Blair Witch Project. It paved the way.
It gets as silly as like when the Star Trek franchise began humanizing the Borg. I mean, when you give too many details about an unknown horror, I mean, the Borg were great when they were like these scary, things in black with white faces that were acting like robots,
Mm-hmm.
But then when they started, the Borg are like an enemy in Star Wars.
Okay.
Star Wars, yeah. But then they, some media tried to make them familiars. It just doesn't work, yeah?
Gotcha. The Woman in Black, what about that one from 1989? I think that was the TV movie that you told me about.
Oh, yeah, that's fantastic. Sometimes the British get it fantastically right. And Woman in Black is fantastic. It was made around the setting is earlier part of the 20th century. And this accountant lawyer type goes down to London to a remote town on the coast of England. And he's there to close up the affairs of an elderly woman who's passed in this place called Eelmarsh Manor, Eelmarsh House. And while he's there, he sees a child about to be crushed by tumbling blocks out of a lorry. A lorry is a truck. Okay?
Yeah.
So he saves the child's life. And that seems to anger the spirit of a woman who lived at the house, the younger sister of the owner who just passed. And what happened was that she had, years earlier, drowned in the passage from the island where the house is to the mainland. It's a marsh, which fills with water at high tide. She and her child drowned in a horse and carriage on the way back. And one day, and the child was born out of wedlock. At the time, that was very, very no-go.
Yeah.
And she was expelled from society. So it has that human family element. The woman and her child die. And so we learn bit by bit that the woman would come to the town to take a child every year around the anniversary of herself and the child dying. And the horror is fantastic. I mean, it introduces the woman in black in a church. When the funeral services for the woman who died, the old lady, the lawyer turns around and he sees this woman in black staring at him with this heat, this burn inside of her. He turns around again and she's gone. And he goes to the island and trying to sort the affairs of the house. And he sees her again. And they do really well. I mean, they don't do any special effects. They have him standing in the grave and he just freezes and looks. And then it goes back behind him again. The camera moves, and there she appears right in front of him. It's that simply done. And just that look on her face. She says nothing. And he hears in the nighttime the sound of a horse and carriage, horses screaming and bellowing, a child screaming for its mother, water, the sound of the accident where they died. And it goes on from there. I don't want to spoil it, but it sets a really good, eerie feeling.
Mm-hmm.
A human being. There's a fantastic scare in it. I won't give it away.
Okay.
But there's one scene, if you're sitting there alone by yourself in the dark watching this movie, it just really scares you. The eeriness of it, it's one of its eerie movies.
Yeah.
It has folk horror elements to it, but it's a British, like, goth, dark, graveyard horror. I loved it.
It's got similar vibes to, I don't know if you've ever heard of La Llorona, the Weeping Woman.
I saw it, yeah.
It's got, I mean, don't watch the movies. No, there's like so many movies of it, and it's very terrible. But it's an old Latin American folk horror story, and it's got some of the same elements to it: the loss of a child, the woman returning, taking children. I mean, I've noticed that too. The more I read different stories from other places, that a lot of them have some similarities. So that's interesting to see that. A lot of it has to do with the same themes, which I'm noticing on some of the movies on our list. Some of it has to do with morals, teaching morals to people. It's kind of a way to scare them into things. It's some of these are also a way to answer for people to deal with the unknown, right? There's the fear of death. There's the fear of what's out there.
Yeah, and there's that murkiness associated with it. There's also he has a little terrier dog that is involved in story, and the dog picks up stories as well.
Yeah,
picks up hints too. So it's the hints that are involved that scare you.
Yeah, and it kind of, and I'm gonna skip off. I'm gonna go off our list a little bit and go skip ahead because I feel like this movie kind of ties in better. The Company of Wolves kind of gave me that vibes of of a gothic folklore type. The same thing. They're trying to teach the daughter. They're trying to teach her, like, trying to scare her basically to have good morals with these stories. That's the one with Angela Lansbury from 1984.
Oh yeah. Neil Jordan, one of Neil Jordan's first movies. I loved it. I mean, I was like, just about going to town and watching movies at the time back in Cork. And I remember the eeriness of it. It's set behind the story of Little Red Riding Hood. Mm-hmm. It's set in modern day, 1985. And Sarah, the girl, she has a series of nightmares where the story comes out. And in her nightmare, she goes back in time to this Victorian village in the middle of nowhere. Let's say, I don't know, listen, 18th century, even like late 18th century Britain, the way the people are dressed.
Yeah.
So even for Victorian times. And it's rural people in the village, and there's talk of werewolves in the town. You can hear them, and the stories of people becoming werewolves. And the little girl, Sarah, she's at that 12 years of age thing where apparently demons actually possess girls who are 12.
A shame.
Yeah. It's that element. And the setting was great. The village was just like, had a big well in the middle of it, made of stone, and people lived in these old stone houses, and it was surrounded by forests everywhere. And, she goes into the woods and she meets a woodsman who's so charming. And it turns out he's a wolf. And there's other stories included in it.
Yeah, it's very fairy tale. It gave me, if you ever watched like Masterpiece Theater, I think from the 80s with Shelley Duvall, it had that same type of vibe to it. And I liked, I loved, I mean, this is a horror podcast, but I can't not admire other stuff. I loved the costumes and the look of it. That was the part of it. It took me a while to get into it, but I really appreciated that about it. I loved the look of it.
Yeah, and it's right. And simple reveals too. Like in the company of wolves, the wolf comes into a house and his wife and the child are afraid. Husband comes back just in the nick of time. He catches an axe, chops the wolf's head off. The head goes into a huge bucket of milk.
Yeah.
And then up from the milk comes a human face, showing that there was a werewolf.
Yeah. The transformation of that wolf was really cool too.
Oh, yeah. But then going back in then to being a man, just like that. Mm-hmm. So you know right away it's a man's face. Or an American Werewolf in London, the first scene where he gets attacked by the wolf.
Yeah.
And the villagers come to shoot the wolf. And like the survivor is like half unconscious. He looks to the left, he sees this person, has been shot dead.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a werewolf.
Yeah. The Autopsy of Jane Doe 2016. Did you get
Loved it. It was good. Brian Cox is a good actor, Braveheart.
Oh, yeah, he's great, yeah.
Yeah, good actor and good setting. It's like a private family business. I know he's a coroner.
Yeah, it's a slow burn.
It is, and again, it gives you little clues. And the demon.
Well, I don't want to say what something happened. Essentially, we were trying to figure out who is Jane Doe, and we eventually find out what happened to Jane Doe and why Jane Doe is wreaking havoc on this father and son that are performing the autopsy. And I watched this one the first time, and I couldn't get into it, and I turned it off. And then something made me go back and watch it, and this one actually scared me, like. And when I say scare me, I mean, it takes a lot to scare. I mean, scared me to the point where, like, in the middle of the night, I woke up to go to the bathroom and I was like, ooh, like I had this little, like, it gave me a little shiver because I was like, she kind of creeped me out. I mean, not enough where, again, I've said, not like where I'm like a little kid and I'm like, okay, let me turn the lights on. But something that can do that to me and gives me that little bit of that unsettling feeling in my chest, I'm like, oh, it did good. It scared me. And that movie actually did that to me.
Yeah, and it's a bit by bit slow reveal, Mm-hmm. Your mind does all the work.
Exactly.
And I love that part about it. And it continues as well. When the coroner starts finding things wrong, everything is like a clue that alerts you more to what is behind all this,
Yeah, what's really going, you start thinking, well, what's really going on here? And there's more to it. Mm-hmm. What about the Hunger? You suggested that one from 1993.
Yeah. Let me see. The Hunger. It's David Bowie, Susan Sarandon, and Catherine Deneuve. I thought it was fantastic. At the time, I was so impressionable, but when I first saw it in video, amazing. It starts off, it's basically modern day vampires. And there are these young, beautiful people in nightclubs in New York. And these two, David Bowie and Catherine, they bring back two attractive young people to their home. It's a really nice place. And like that, to take out their knives and they kill them and they drink their blood. And it turns out that they're vampires, but they're ancient. And it was she turned him into one. The story is well known. What it basically says is that the vampires, they need to feed frequently. And for some of them, they don't really become vampires forever. They stay young for 200 years. Mm-hmm. Then at a certain point, they become weaker, they decay rapidly, and they get really, really old really fast. And they don't die. They stay in a decrepit state of eternal advanced, dusty age for thousands of years until the end of the world.
So there's
But
nothing.
one of them, yeah,
There's nothing they can do to prevent that. Like we just covered a silly horror comedy, Once Bitten, where the lady had to like take the blood of a virgin every Halloween to keep her youth. Otherwise, yeah, she got old. I mean, there's nothing that these vampires were able to.
oh,
to
no,
do
no,
to
he
combat
tries,
it.
yeah. No, no, yeah. For some of them, no. The main vampire will go on being young forever, but if you drink her blood, you will be a vampire and be young for a few hundred years, but it won't last. But that's a desperation. Well, another thing too about horror is desperation. Like Blade Runner, there's a desperation in it.
Yeah, that's a
Blade
good
Runner
one.
isn't horror.
Desperation.
Yeah, but it's desperation. I want more life. Like Blade Runner is not a horror, but it's noir. It has that desperation attitude in it. And when you have desperation, it makes drama there. And the hunger, it has that. Bowie was fantastic. Susan Sarandon is like a detective, a doctor. She gets involved in it. And she discovers the truth of it. I mean, I don't want to reveal too much of what happens because it's a good show. But that eerie horror, the supernatural, where do you actually see signs of where the vampire came from, and there's supernatural element, superhuman strength and that kind of stuff. But it's a great show.
Yeah. What about now? This is a totally different type of style of vampire movie. Count Dracula. You liked. You're telling me that you really were a fan of the 1977 version.
Yeah. It was Frank Finlay. He's gone now. A long time ago, 1977. It was done by the British again, and it was done with the gothic graveyard type of horror effect. And it's done with simple special effects, like smoke going backwards into a source. Those kind of simple effects are available back then. But it's done well with good acting, good eerie music. It's kind of faithful to the old Dracula story. The vampire Dracula. He has the actor was this French guy, and he acted really well. He wore the dart, and he could fly, become a bat, that kind of thing. And it was that dark castle horror. I loved it.
I've noticed you like coastal stuff in castles, huh? It seems to be a theme with your some of these picks when I'm thinking of the imagery of these movies.
Medieval, Victorian, ancient castles, dark, noir, mist, desperation, horror, evil spirits. I love that. That's the element of horror that I grew up with, Something that can transform you. And Dracula from 1977, it was really good. It was a good telling, and it kept you interested.
What did you like about this one versus any of the other ones? Because there's so many out there, from comedic ones to more serious ones.
It was serious, and it took itself seriously. But furthermore, it was well acted, and it was faithful. It didn't bring any modern elements. It didn't try to explain itself. It didn't try to appease anyone. If you liked it, you liked it. If you don't, you don't. I mean, it's 50 years old now, but at the time, it was a good show. It had the Vestal Virgins, whatever they're called, the little female vampires who surrounded.
Yeah.
It had the same kind of eerie effect that Salem's Lot had from the late 70s.
Yeah, I like that one.
The demons, just floating away up into the mist, and demons being able to the vampire floating in the air.
That's such a classic scene from Salem's Lot. That's known by a lot. And
the kids at the window. He commands it.
Yeah, and modern shows and modern films that I feel like are constantly paying or homage, or they're reproducing that scene. Like, I don't know if you watched the new show From. It's a show that's out right now, and it's from the same people that made Lost, so it's got that same sort of elements where you're like, what the heck is going on here? But it definitely there. You could tell they took They took their inspiration from Salem's Lot with the way that the demon things are floating around.
Well, it was horror or anything. Really. When they use special effects, if you know there's special effects, it loses its value.
Yeah. I think it's just you can only reinvent the wheel so many times. A lot of movies are constantly imitating other ones.
Yeah. Well, I worked on a TV show 20 years ago called Carnival. It had supernatural elements to it. It's HBO. And it is special effects, but you wouldn't really know it. Yeah. Like the other one scene where a woman she asks for a miracle and coins spit out of her mouth. It's done in a way you wouldn't even know the special effects being used. Yeah. When you can know the special effects, you can date them. I mean, the CGI thing, I'm not a fan,
Yeah. What did you say that film was it, or show that you worked on?
Carnival.
Oh, Carnival. Oh, okay, I've seen that one. Yeah.
Yeah, I played one of the carny workers on it. I was a carny worker.
Got you.
Uh,
Okay.
it leads into the Dracula show. It leads into The Keep
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
1985, 84, 85. That was the guy from Hereditary, Gabriel Byrne, one of his first big movies.
I
It
love
was made
him.
by Michael Mann. He did Miami Vice as well. And basically, it's a bunch of German soldiers in 1941. They go to Romania, of course, spooky there. And they're there to guard a pass in the mountains. And there's this weird castle, the Keep. And people are very suspicious of the castle because the castle, all the small stones are on the outside, and the big stones are inside. And the walls are kind of slanted enough you can climb up them. So that it starts off the eerie feeling, and the Nazi soldiers discover that there's crosses made of silver, and so they get greedy and they take one, and in doing so they pull back a slab stone, and they awaken a demon that's been trapped inside the keep. From there, you figure out that, oh yeah, this is a demon story, and it's an ancient demon in Romania from thousands of years ago, and the fact that it's been awakens an immortal man played by Scott Glenn, and he becomes aware, because he built the keep, that something's going on. He goes back to Romania, put him back into put the genie back in the bottle, and that's the basic story. But it's really well made. I mean, the demon becomes more powerful the more people it consumes. It has power to make sick people well again, so that they'd be allies of his, because he has to have certain elements from inside the keep taken out, and he can't do it himself. That's the element. But the setting was good. I actually went to it was made in Wales, and I went over there 10 years to see where it was made. I love the forest, the dark forests, the association with the Nazis, the Germans, the evil ghost demon from medieval times, the medieval Romanian village. Oh, I love eerie, graveyard type of unknown horror.
Gotcha.
So you got some shows that you haven't seen.
Yeah.
That people haven't seen.
Well, I think you haven't seen Don't Worry, Darling, and that one's kind of a little different than some of the other ones on this list. But I really wanted to include it because it definitely deals with the unknown, and it's uncomfortable. There's a girl who is with her husband, and it's like 1950s, kind of very like Stepford Wives. And they're living in this community. I think it's called like the Victory community. And you're trying to figure out like, what is the husband doing for work? And the wives just stay home all day, and they're like the stereotypical housewives, but there's something wrong and there's something off. And just like in The Autopsy of Jane Doe, how they're throwing you little crumbs and you're slowly figuring out that there's something going wrong, she starts to figure out that there's some disturbing things going on. There's some disturbing secrets that her husband and the company is hiding. And I don't want to give it fully away, but it's one where it definitely takes a turn. It gives me, like I said, Stepford Wives vibes, kind of Suspiria with some of the dance scenes in it. I will say it's not supernatural. There is something else going on, but the unknown factor is what I really enjoyed about that one.
Last Night in Soho, you saw that?
Yeah, that one's from 2021. The same thing. There's kind of, you're not sure what's going on. And this is a beautiful movie. I'm like super fascinated with fashion from the 50s and the 60s, not so much the treatment of women, but the outfits. And I love the scenery of this movie. And there's a girl who she's living with an old elderly woman. She's going to college, and she keeps having these dreams about the lady who used to sleep in her room that she's renting. And she's like transported back in time. And you start seeing things that are happening to the girl that was transferred, whose room it was. And you're trying to figure out like, why is she having these dreams? Why is she having these connections? And the girl who's in the present even starts to kind of emulate her and do things like her. And you find out something bad happened to her. But then it kind of flips on you. And again, I don't want to give the ending away because it's a really like completely different ending. I know you're not a fan of slashers. It's not a slasher, but at the end it has some slasher elements to it. But it's another one where you're like, okay, that is not what I expected at all. You think you're going one way, and the movie takes a whole different turn at the end. And I don't know if I explained it well, but it's really hard to explain it with both of those without completely giving away the endings. And the endings are, like I said, they're not, to me, they weren't expected at all. And that's what I loved about them being unknown.
Yeah, talk about the 50s. Did you ever see Angel Heart, Mickey Rourke?
Oh, I think I've seen a
Mm.
lot of his older stuff, but
I
I
think it
don't know
was
if I remember.
1985, 86.
Hmm.
And it's about this detective in the 50s who gets sent down to Louisiana to do an investigation on some kind of a murder. And there's an involvement of voodoo. It basically is sent by somebody called Louis Cypher, Robert De Niro. You know, I mean, I don't want to get started away, but Louis Cypher says he wants to find somebody. He says during his interview, the egg is a symbol of the soul, and he taps an egg, takes off the shell, puts a pepper on, he eats it, and bit by bit, when he goes down to Louisiana, a lot of the witnesses get killed off, and he finds that more and more this very tightly wound. All these mysteries, strange murders, they're unsolvable, but they get connected to him. At the end, you reveal that it's a supernatural horror. It really is. It's an adult thing. There's sex and violence involved, but still, it's the way it was made. It was a fantastic supernatural thriller.
Yeah.
It's a horror in a way,
Yeah. Yeah, that's actually a good thing that's I don't even why I didn't think about the supernatural thriller. That's actually a great way to describe Don't Worry Darling and Last Night in Soho, and they kind of I think they went hand in hand because they're kind of the two odd ones on this list that like I said they're more of the unknown than supernatural or on that gothic vibe.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, it involves the devil himself, but it's a great show.
Yeah.
Angel Heart.
Have you seen I think the last one that we had was Dog Soldiers you were telling me about?
Oh yeah,
2002?
Dogs. Yeah, Dog Soldiers is not a British show. They really did it this one well. Basically, a bunch of British Army reservists, the Territorial Army. They're doing annual training up in Scotland, really remote part, out in the forests. And they encounter some of the soldiers are being eaten alive by something big. It's got to be a wolf, and they come to a remote settlement, basically just one or two houses. And I mean, don't want to give it away. Some of the people there know more than what they're supposed to. And bit by bit, the soldiers are picked off by the werewolves. And it ends up with one guy figuring out the entire story. And he has to deal with all the werewolves himself. But it's set in the middle of the woods, nowhere in Scotland. And so no one knows what goes on. And so at the end of the story, no one, the entire world outside, has any idea what happened in the first place. It was really well made, good special effects, and really credible, good acting. It's a werewolf story taken with a new element to it. It's kind of like a Southern Comfort from the 1980s, that movie with the Cajuns in the bayou, with werewolves instead. Okay. Basically, it's soldiers getting lost in the woods, and they're picked off one by werewolves, and the people they meet aren't all what we're supposed to think they are. It's just, and it ends up with just a few survivors. Fantastic story. It was really well made.
Wow, so that was a lot of movies, right? Hopefully some of the listeners find some interest in those. Yeah. We kind of tried to stick with the theme of it was an overreaching theme. We kind of some were supernatural, some we just liked for the gothic elements.
Yeah, the desperation,
folklore, the unknown, and then I think as we were talking, we realized we had some other themes going on, like you said, desperation. Certain
Blade
setting,
Runner. Yeah. Blade Runner. I mean, it's basically replicants. They want more life.
I think you had one more that you said that, you know what, now that I'm remembering, that you didn't say it wasn't quite, again, it's kind of like off on its own, but it was a sci-fi, Never Let Me Go. Wasn't that what you wanted to talk about?
Right, we'll talk about it, yeah. Never Let Me Go, it's from a book. Basically, it sets an alternative reality, like 1980s Britain, but it's a dystopian reality. And it introduces itself by saying technological breakthroughs allowed cloning. And basically what happens is it doesn't explain itself, which is fantastic. I love the way stories don't explain it. Films that don't explain themselves are probably the best. Mm-hmm. And in the film, what we learn is that whole generations of children are cloned so that they can be organ donors for really wealthy people. Mm. It's a terrible thing, but that's what they do.
Yeah.
And they're raised separately. They're given enough education to read and write, but they're controlled with wristbands and things, and they're taught to not escape. They're taught their fate. And after they turn 18 or 19, they're given a year or two to live. And then they start again making their donations. And, they give away a kidney or this and that. And over time, they don't live too long. Yeah. When they die, it's called completion. And it's a fantastic story because they realize that there's this darkness where they accept their fate. But the story is a love triangle between two of them. And Carey Mulligan is one of the females. And the girl from Pirates of the Caribbean, she's in it too. She's the other female. She's Ruth.
I don't know those movies.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know the Pirates movies.
And James Garfield. The Spider-Man,
yeah, Spider-Man guy, yeah.
He's the male. It's made in England. It was made 15 years ago, but it was made so simply.
2010, I think I wrote down.
It was made so simply. Any aspiring filmmaker could use this as a template how to make a good movie because it didn't really need huge sets. Didn't really need any special effects. Mm-hmm. It was a story. It's a love triangle between three people that are condemned to basically die young. And it's a story of human interaction. It's kind of like watching a bunch of ants fighting over a crust of bread before you step on it. It's an amazing drama inside something that people just brush away. And the story, Keira Knightley is the actress, the other actress. The director never, ever explains the story. They don't justify themselves.
Do you feel like that's something that is a theme in movies from other countries? Because American movies, like, we always have to have a happy ending. You have to explain everything. Like, from what I understand, like, they'll test films out with people, and if the ending is ambiguous or if the movie's too ambiguous, then, like, movie studios are like, nope, we can't. We got to change this up. Go reshoot it or add this scene in. Or
anyway, I mean, I don't think.
I don't know if that's something with American cinema, since you seem to have a broader.
Well, this isn't always
movies.
the case. If it's going to be a blockbuster, yeah, but this wasn't supposed to be a blockbuster. This is like an independent film.
Gotcha.
I mean, remember Invasion of the Body Snatchers?
Love that.
That doesn't have a good ending, you know?
Yeah.
It has a terrible ending. But I mean...
Well, on horror, it doesn't matter, I guess, huh?
Yeah.
Right? It's okay if people die.
But this, yeah. But it wasn't horror, but it was film noir.
I would consider that a horror movie. I mean, I would make the argument. I mean, if you ask any horror fan, they would argue that it's a horror film as well.
No, I mean, it's a love story in a very noir setting.
It can fall in, but noir can also fall under the horror genre at times.
I mean,
I think with genres of movies, there's overlap at times. Some might be more supernatural, or more sci-fi than actual, or more thriller than actual horror, but it has horrific elements to it.
Well, yeah, it sounds that way, but when you watch the film, you get more involved in the love story.
Yeah,
you know?
For sure, yeah. I mean,
they're condemned. The emotion in these people when they realize how desperate their situation is, they do start looking for a chance to live longer lives.
Yeah.
And I don't want to give the story away, but it's a heartbreaker of a movie. But as people who kind of have the idea that maybe we could make our own movie one time, when you have that artistic bent, I suppose, that's it. The grasp is right there. It was so powerful, and it was a simple movie to make.
Yeah.
That's what I loved about it.
Gotcha. Well, I know you've done a couple different things. What are some of the... Tell us about, I think there was Peter the Possessor. Tell us about that you were starring.
I got an opportunity to work, was it 4 or 5 years ago now, before I came over to Montreal. It was a short movie called Peter the Possessed. And I play an Irish priest who's brought in to exorcise a cat. Now, it's a short movie. It's kind of comedy, but we shot it in LA. A great director called Gillian Norton. She's Irish. Mm-hmm. And it's one of her first movies. And it's a great story. I'm brought in and I'm asked to exorcise a cat. Yeah. And so I go to this library and, I'm trying to find out, so where is Peter? And it's the cat playing, licking its feet on the desk, and the woman goes. And I'm like,
So if you're only listening, he's just pointing. He's like pointing at a cat.
Yeah, so I mean that's the cover picture. It's me and the female actress, the female star, looking down at the camera, and the camera is the cat Peter.
Yeah,
and it kind of goes from there, Yeah, it goes from there. It's a short movie. It's got a little twist in it. It's a good laugh.
Okay.
And other movies I did. I worked in Carnival for about a year and a half, into 2004.
I didn't know that.
I love that show. It broke my heart.
Oh yeah, me and Andrea. Shout out to Andrea, one of our army buddies. she was asking about who's coming up on the pod, and I was like, oh, Billy's gonna come on, and she's like, oh, every time I watch Wedding Crashers, I shout out, that's my friend.
Oh yeah, I remember that because you went to see that when we were on tour one time, and someone has said, "Oh, hey, this Cardi right there."
Yeah. So we get a kick out of that, and I've caught you in a couple other. I'll be watching random things. I'm like, hey, that's my boy, that's Cardi. So yeah. Is there any other things you want to share with the listeners in terms of things to watch or things that any of your personal projects or social media or anything like that you want people to?
We have to do this part 2 because there's a couple of shows we missed, like Skin of a Rink, The Witch from 2015, Saint Maud. There's a couple of shows we're going to talk about in the future. Maybe we're running out of time right now.
Yeah, we'll definitely, we can come back on. I'd love to even talk. I know I got a vibe that you like dystopian stuff, and I think we can have fun with some of that too. So that could be a future topic.
Dystopian movies are fantastic because, especially like the futuristic ones, because we're getting to the point now where technology is in such a way that you can make really good films for your budget.
Yeah.
There's so many good dystopian science fiction there. Dystopian science fiction is very interesting as well. Blade Runner.
Yeah. That's what made me think about when you talked about that one and Never Let Me Go. I was like, okay, I got a future topic for me and him.
Dystopian.
And we'll throw in those other ones that you still want to talk about.
Oh, yeah.
Well, thank you, man. I really appreciate having you on here, and we'll get you back on again, Billy. It's been really cool.
I really hope this podcast takes off and you get thousands of viewers. I mean, it's great. You're giving a chance for people to get to know films that have been missed. There's so many thousands of great movies that are made that people never see, like Bad Lieutenant with Harvey Keitel.
Mm-hmm.
That was made, about 20 years ago? What a fantastic movie.
Yeah.
It's got that supernatural, a little bit of supernatural thing as well.
Yeah, I think we had a well-rounded list. We had some blockbusters, Hereditary is a big one, The Fog, of course, The Exorcist, but we threw in a few other unknown gems, but I think it rounded out good mix. So thank you again, and thank you to all of our listeners. And if you're looking for any more content, you can find me on Instagram at Dreadful Dialogue Podcast. I also have a website, dreadfuldialogue.com. And I want to thank Billy for giving up his time and sharing some great movies, not just with the listeners, with me. Some of these are ones that I'm now working my way through to watch.
Right. Thank you. And love to be a part of the show.
All right. Thank you, listeners. And with that, have a good one.